Can you go to a court if a DPSP is violated? So this is where the most aspirants get this wrong. So today let's understand the difference between fundamental rights and the DPSP in a simple way. Both are important parts of a constitution, but they work in a very different way, and this understanding is very important for your polity preparation. So fundamental rights come under the part 3 of Indian Constitution, while DPSP is included under the part 4 of Indian Constitution. So let's start one by one with fundamental rights to study in a better way. Okay, so if I talk about fundamental rights, as I said, it comes under part 3 of the Indian Constitution. The most important point to remember here is that fundamental rights are enforceable through courts. So, if a fundamental right is violated, a person can seek a constitutional remedy, which is meant to protect the individual rights and safeguard the individual liberty. So this is what about your fundamental rights, that is, it is in court enforceable and it protects the rights of the individual. Now while looking at this slide, we will study about DPSP. So as I told you earlier, DPSP comes under your part 4 of Indian Constitution, and the major difference is that this is not enforceable. Okay, so DPSPs are not enforceable through the courts and they guide the government. So this does not mean that it is not an important part. The purpose is to guide the government while making the laws and the policy, establishing a welfare of the state. So it is establishing a welfare oriented state. So it deals with this and it is not enforceable through the court. So here we have to remember that it is included in part 4. It guides the government and it is not directly enforceable in the court. Now let's see the quick comparison and the difference between these two for your remembering it for your exams. So as I said, fundamental rights come under the part 3 of Indian Constitution, while DPSP comes under the part 4 of Indian Constitution. Fundamental rights are justiciable, DPSP is non-justiciable. Primary focus, it is in the fundamental rights, it protects the rights of the individual, that is about, it talks about you, and if it is related to the welfare of the state, it means it comes under your DPSP. So these are the 3 points you should immediately remember, and I have given you the very crisp manner to learn it. And just one more memory trick that you can remember it always, like whenever it talks about you, that is about the individual, it is your fundamental rights. When it talks about the welfare of the state, it is your DPSP. Understood? So it tells the state or the government what it should work towards. Clear? While fundamental rights protects you as an individual. Now let's look at a very important exam point of view. For fun, you have to remember it. As I told you, first you have to remember that part 3 versus part 4 of Indian Constitution, that is the fundamental rights versus your DPSP, first thing. Secondly, when we have to study the relationship about fundamental rights and DPSPs, then there are 2 important cases that you have to remember for your exams, that is your Keshwanandan Bharti case and Minerva Mills case. So this is important because here the Supreme Court has resolved the clashes between the fundamental rights and DPSP. That's why it become one of the important pointers to remember from the exam point of view for your prelims and mains. Okay, so if I say let's just do a quick revision, what we have studied is the most important. Fundamental rights come under your part 3 of the Indian Constitution. Fundamental rights come under the part 3. DPSP come under your part 4. Correct? fundamental rights are justiciable, they protect the individual. So if we have to protect the individual, it comes under your fundamental rights, while DPSP come under part 4, it is non-justiciable and it deals with the welfare of the state. Okay, now coming back to the question we started with, was that can we go to a court if a DPSP is being violated? So the answer is no, not directly, because DPSPs are non-justiciable. But that brings to one another question, and an interesting question, like if DPSPs cannot be directly enforced by the court, then why did constitution give them an important place? And for that, relationship between fundamental rights and DPSP is something we will be exploring next, and understand why Dr. B.R. Ambedkar called article number 32 as the heart and the soul of the Indian Constitution. So this is what we are going to study next. Till then, keep learning, keep watching. Have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you.